Welcome to the next episode of the Northern Chorus Fantasy Pints Podcast. As James always says, under promising, over delivering. We're back.
It's not my exact words, but it's the same premise.
Okay. Well,
how are you, mate?
I'll nail it eventually. I'm good. I've as I was just saying to you, it's International Women's Day today.
Well, I didn't need telling, but thanks for reminding me anyway.
Well, you never know. But yeah, so I've rushed to get my my quiz from last year, so that's online now because I'd completely forgotten about today. I'm not going to lie.
Love that. And where can people find the quiz?
Well, it's called the Women in Music Quiz. It's on northernchorus.co.uk. But if you don't want to traipse back to 2021, then it's been shared across the socials, so you can look there. If we had have thought ahead as well, we would have probably maybe tied it in with a female guest. But we never do things the right way on this podcast, do we? So I feel like It's more than fitting. So, James, who have we got today? You can introduce today's guest.
Well, I'm really looking forward to this one. So we have got ex-Soccer AM host, YouTuber, podcaster extraordinaire, general all-round family man, marathon runner, Robbie Knox.
Great intro, especially as I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Didn't pre-warn you about that. I thought you were going to go for all-round great guy, which would have also been true, but all-round family man works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we'll be talking to Robbie all about his Soccer AM venture, which he was probably first known for. We'll go into his YouTubing career, obviously Happy Hour, massive podcast that he's on now. We'll also delve into a bit of his beer brewing side, hopefully. And,
that's something I didn't mention, actually. Beer brewer, musician. He's got many strings to his bow.
I don't think he's a musician, but he has DJ'd and he has that one song which we will come on to, and we'll find out what his fantasy pints are. I love how this time we're actually recording an intro prior to the interview, so it feels sometimes we actually know what's happened, but now we don't. He couldn't.
Yeah, this is great.
He might not turn up for all we know, but hopefully
this is the way we should do it every week.
Yeah, it is. So, but hopefully we'll go straight into the podcast now.
Let's do it.
And we're joined this week by a former Soccer AM producer, now YouTuber and presenter, or co-host, should I say, of one of the UK's biggest podcasts. It's Robbie Knox. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
We're good.
Good, mate.
We're good.
Yeah,
we're good.
Thank you for your valuable time. Really, really appreciate it. But
surprisingly empty day, don't you?
I'm very
don't take it as a compliment. I just have very little on my life.
Very punctual as well, which I may add.
Yeah, I was 2 minutes early, I think. Yeah. So always good to make a good impression.
No rock star, nothing rock star about it. Straight in.
No, nothing here. No, definitely not.
Yeah. So, as we mentioned, I think people would first have known you from Soccer AM, wouldn't they? I'm interested to know. I think it started, was it 2000 or early noughties for yourself? So take us back to that time. How did it come about? How did you get into that?
So I brief life history. I went to school, went to university in Norwich. Then I went to Canada for a year, and I had a vague idea that I wanted to work in media. Probably was thinking radio more than TV. And I got a job at a TV studio in Wandsworth for a year. I was there for a year. And then someone I knew, a guy called Dan Trolf, who does YouTube as well now, he knew Tim Lovejoy, who's the presenter and the producers. He worked at their agency, I think, or knew their agent or something. And they knew that they were looking for someone. So I just sent the CV off, got invited for a job interview, got the job. And that's the very short version of the story.
Yeah. So what was the first job on the program then? Was it behind the scenes?
The first thing I did was, it was called Production Junior, which is quite a sort of Production Junior thing. Sky had its own job titles that were slightly different from most other sort of TV things. But essentially what I was doing was, it was quite a high pressure thing. Because I was doing, oh God, I've just touched my ear and Apple Music has opened.
What song came on
that? Nothing. It's just said welcome to Apple Music, because I don't use Apple Music because I'm very much on Team Spotify.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
But what was I? So it was doing stuff like getting all the costumes, getting all the props in for the show, because there's a lot of dressing up and people acting and stuff like that. And it was done in quite a mental way in hindsight, in that we'd have a script meeting on the Friday. We'd work Tuesday to Saturday, shows on a Saturday morning. And we'd have a script meeting where we finalised everything at lunchtime on the Friday. and I couldn't get any props or costumes in until that afternoon. She basically had like 4 hours. I was like, well, not even really 4 hours, because the shops, you're out of Isleworth. You've got to be able to get things back by this time. She had probably about 3 hours to get everything you needed from Central London and send a courier to pick it all up and hope it was right, without being able to see all this stuff. So it was quite a weird way of doing it. And then I do other little things around the little minor sort of jobs. That was my first thing. And then I started going in edit suites with editors, editing videos for the show, going out on shoots. Eventually I started doing all the music for the show and like choosing with Tim what goes on. So I listened to all the new music that came out each week and get lots of gigs and check out new bands and stuff. And then we'd work out what to play. And a lot of the stuff towards the end I was doing was guest related stuff. So when a guest got booked, either by me or by someone else, I would phone the guest up, chat to them for 15, 20 minutes and write an interview based on that conversation for Tim and Helen to talk about during the show.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the music side of things, because that's always been massive with Soccer AM, hasn't it? Particularly promoting new bands. I wasn't aware that it was yourself and sort of Tim who were behind that.
Yeah, at that time, I mean, I don't know what, I certainly did it for a good few years. And I was doing it up until Tim and I left. Yeah, it was, I mean, people sort of forget, and this is predating me, but the old thing before Soccer AM, really, the music in football was quite literal. Like if a team, if it was before a game, they'd play Republica's Ready to Go or something like that, and it would be a sad song if a team had lost or something like that, crying your eyes out. It'd be very much like based on that sort of thing. So there wasn't much of playing just good music with football before this. I think it definitely was, and I'm not claiming credit for this because before my time, it definitely changed things quite a bit in the sort of football and music thing. And also the music, it was mostly a lot of indie bands and that, but we were playing British hip hop when there wasn't British hip hop being played on. There's none on top of the box, there's none in the charts. Wasn't much from, not really on mainstream radio. Well, it seems bad now considering how big that is, but in the sort of early 2000s, there just wasn't much British hip hop being played.
Do you remember sort of ever discovering maybe a band quite early through Soccer AM?
Yeah,
went on to bigger and better
I mean,
things?
I found a sort of I've managed to get hold of a sort of bedroom recorded demo from Kaiser Chiefs.
Okay.
I got before they recorded anything properly. We played that on the show. Block Party, we played their first sort of like limited sort of release. Loads of bands did their first interviews with us. I think Kaiser Chiefs did, I think Razorlight probably did. Arctic Monkeys did their first in-studio interview with us. They'd done like literally that the night or two before. They'd not done any interviews before. They did an interview after I think they won the Mercury Prize. We definitely didn't discover them, but we did the sort of first things with them like that. So yeah, I mean, there are quite a lot of bands that we did stuff with really early on that went on to do well.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of the perfect era for as Soccer AM was rising. It was that noughties indie boom, wasn't it? So
yeah, it was, and it was. It's weird because I went to uni during sort of Britpop time. I was sort of thinking a little bit like, there's not as much good stuff around, but there was, and that's what stops me now when I sort of look and think, I'm not sure how much good indie there is. I think there probably is. I just don't know. I just don't know. Sort of thing. I have a vague knowledge of some bands now, sort of thing. I'm nowhere near. Whereas I went to see, I was getting probably like 2 or 3 gigs a week when I was at Soccer AM, sort of thing, just to keep on top of things. And but yeah, so yeah, it was. There was a lot of good stuff around, a lot of good bands that came on Soccer AM. We had a good time with. Yeah.
So, how does someone go from producer of Soccer AM later? Was it always your plan to sort of go to get your face on the screen, I suppose, in terms of moving on to YouTube?
Well, I did stuff on screen at Soccer AM that I never really, we never went there to do that. We were just like, we need to do this, and then things would go down well, and we just carry on doing them and stuff like that. But then no, we left Soccer AM just because, for me personally, I'd done it for 7 years, and you do anything for that long, you get a bit bored. It was a great job to have in your 20s. It wouldn't be a good job to have now because I've got kids and I don't want to spend half the week at really long hours and half the weekend at work, essentially. So we went and did something good with a guy called Simon Fuller, who used to manage David Beckham and Andy Murray, and managed the Spice Girls, invented American Idol and stuff like this. Did stuff with him for a couple of years, an internet TV channel that before there was such a thing as YouTube. But YouTube existed, but they weren't YouTubers sort of thing. So it was quite early in that front. And then when that finished, I just started a production company making videos for brands and stuff, and did that for ages. And I didn't have any intention of doing YouTube because I didn't really. I did like podcast things occasionally, like did a few little bits and bobs, but for some reason I didn't really. I went to YouTube when I needed to learn how to fix something or to do something, and I was aware there were YouTubers.
I still do.
Friends. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, but I'd become friends with Jaackmaate, and I'd really met others like Spencer FC. I'd meet around the place and stuff like that through work, and a few people I got to know, but I'd never really thought for some reason of doing YouTube. I think because I thought that the YouTubers were younger and the audience was younger. I didn't think anyone would be particularly interested. And then I remember having a chat with a guy called Will Brazier who worked for Sporth, and he does lots of TV and all this. So a lovely guy. We were doing some filming with Troy Deeney at Watford's training ground. And he was saying, why don't you do a YouTube channel? I was like, well, I don't think anyone would be particularly interested. He said, look, I don't want to sound rude, but I know what it's like being an 18-year-old starting uni, because every September there's 100,000 vlogs of an 18-year-old starting uni sort of thing. He goes, I don't really know what it's like being middle-aged in the possible sense. I was like, all right, fair enough. So I thought, I'll do a video a week for 6 months and see how it goes. And I did it, and I enjoyed it and carried on. And here we are now.
Yeah, because there were often maybe some preconceptions, or there used to be, about YouTubers, didn't they? And I think maybe these days that's kind of changed, hasn't it? Did you used to have those same things?
No, because I would meet people. It depends what you mean by the preconceptions. People like the sort of stuff like people like rude or idiots or something like that. I didn't think that's all, because I meet people who were really good. And I imagine it's like when people say slag off influencers, which is a word I hate anyway, sort of thing. I'm going to say I just do this. I've no doubt that these people, even the people that aren't in my sort of area, even the sort of beauty people, are doing immense amounts of work, because I know how much work it is to do this sort of thing. So no, I don't think I had necessarily preconceptions, other than I thought it was a younger person's game, and that it probably wasn't something that people would be interested in.
Well, but they obviously are. So it's going well.
Well, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but I noticed on a particular video you expressed yourself quite openly. Is that something you've always been comfortable with, or is it something you've maybe found since joining YouTube?
I think you get more confidence as you get older. Is this the Is this the one about death and grief?
Yes.
And stuff
Yeah.
Yeah, to a degree. I think people quite like vulnerability sort of thing, or honesty and stuff like that, and things that they talk about. But I do think it's something that younger people talk about a lot more freely. Like you hear about mental health a lot more now than they certainly did when I was at uni. I mean, I remember we had a friend who, after the first term, was suffering from anxiety, and we didn't know anything about it. We were supportive in our way. Our solution was, come to the pub with us, it'd be all right, get drunk, which probably isn't the right approach. But at the time, we didn't know any better, whereas people are a lot more open about talking things now. But I've sort of realised, I've tried to be a bit more aware of who's watching the videos and that, because I sort of think, it's for everyone, anyone who wants to, and that. But then you look into it, and 90% of the audience are men, 90% are younger than me, 80% are British. I mean, it's generally men between 18 and 35 sort of thing, are roughly the sort of demographic sort of thing. So I think the videos where I am talking about life experience or something like that, people seem to react quite well to. So I think I probably will do more of those sort of things like that. And you can control people. People worry a lot about putting things out on the internet and worry about privacy and stuff like that and all that. But you can control what you put out. There's loads of things I wouldn't put out. Yeah. You can sort of go, okay, Joe, this is something that's happened. It might give people some benefit. I'll talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. We'll come on to happy hour now then. As I said earlier, one of, if not the UK's biggest, I don't know. It's certainly...
It's generally in the top 10 on Spotify. So it's exclusive to Spotify. I'll have a little look now while we're here. It's generally in or amongst the top 10. It varies a bit. I don't know how the charts worked out. I've got no no knowledge on this, but it certainly it does all right.
Yeah, it
but
certainly does.
I don't really know stuff about. I was going to look now for you. It is currently number 8 in the charts. There you go.
Well, there you go. That fits the bill.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about viewers or stuff or listeners. Sorry, every week, but we did get when that Spotify Wrap came out. They gave us a few statistics, and the one that really blew my mind was one of them was people who listen to Happy Hour more than any other podcast.
Yeah.
So it's their most listened to. Was something like 250,000 people listen to Happy Hour more than anything else. So
I think I'm actually one of those.
I am just because I listen back to it.
Certainly, in our opinion, numbers aside, Happy Hour is the number 2 podcast in the UK, closely following Northern Chorus.
The Fantasy Pints podcast. Obviously. But we'll come on to sort of why it's so popular, or why you think it's so popular. But what's the origins of that? How did you get into that with Jack and Steve?
So Jack was doing it first of all with Alex and Stevie, I believe, and then Alex left, and then with Jordan. And while Jordan was on it, I came on as a guest. Really, I think it was more just to tell old stories rather than anything else, sort of thing. Because I think I had some good stories that Jack knew that he wanted me to tell about Oasis or other things like that. So I just did that, and then it went down. It seemed to be quite popular, and then I think I just came in for a few other episodes where they were short of people, or they needed extra people for an episode or something, or someone couldn't make it. So did a few little ones there, and then we started doing a series called Happy Half Hour, which is just me and Jack, where we talk through different topics for half an hour each week, and those were quite fun. And people talk about those all the time now. And then when they signed the Spotify deal, there was a basically set format of episodes, I think. So there was one longer episode and 1 hour long one, and the half-hour format didn't really fit in there. So we just moved me into what we call the main show, which I always found weird. Yeah. Because I find it odd that the main, the one that has Ricky Gervais on or whatever is not the main show. That's the other one. The main show is me, Jack and Stevie abusing each other. Are
there any plans to get you involved on the guest shows? Because I think that'd be great.
I've done a few bits, and I quite enjoyed doing them. I think sometimes it's useful, and sometimes I don't think you need 3. I think it's a lot of people to interview someone. I don't necessarily think you need it. I mean, one solution would have been off Stevie, but I think quite often, like if we've had a guest who's been on before, then I might have me in there. If it's someone that I know, like Rob Beckett, I had connections to through Lloyd Griffith, so that made sense. So sometimes I will be on the guest ones. A lot of the time, I won't.
Yeah. And for I would imagine, very, very small pool of people that listen to the Fantasy Pints podcast and don't listen to Happy Hour. How did you meet Jack? Because I love this story.
I met him. How long a story do you want? I'll do it as quick as I can. One year before Christmas, I got annoyed in a supermarket because I went to Sainsbury's and I had to buy some bits. I'd done my shopping online, but I had to go and get some extra bits. And it was a horrible experience. The queues were enormous. There was hardly anything on the shelves. The prices all got up. What was there was rubbish, like carrots that were disgusting. I don't know how you mess up carrots. Everything about the experience was horrific. I got annoyed. And I thought, do you know what? I'm not going to go to a supermarket for a year. In the end, I did 6 months, but the plan was originally, I'm not going to go to a supermarket this year. And I stopped after 6 months because I'd learned enough. I did. And it was quite interesting. It has changed the way I shop forever, really, sort of thing. I went to independent shops and things like that. And I've become a lot more aware of seasonal produce and what's in season when and stuff like that. So it's totally changed the way I shop and eat. And I wrote just a little thing on my private Facebook just talking about it. What I'd done. And someone who worked for the Huffington Post asked me to write a blog about it. So I said, yes. I did a few little things on like local radio and stuff because people were interested in this. And then Huffington Post again, I wrote one other blog for them, I think. And then they asked me to be part of this brand content thing where it was for Amoy, a Chinese cooking show. And it was a team of bloggers, even though I'd only written 2 blogs ever. I was representing the world of bloggers. Team of bloggers, team of comedians, a team of YouTubers. And Jack was one half of the team of YouTubers. And I met him through there.
Yeah. So you hit it off straight away, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I went in there thinking, I remember the first conversation, Jack said he thought I was mental because I was actually my testicles during, because I'd had just an operation. But my opinion was they're YouTubers, they're going to be young, quite cool. They're probably not going to be remotely interested in me. I'll just talk to them anyway and make them like me. But turns out they were lovely and it was great, yeah. And so you just got on well, and then because I lived in Kent at the time, I'm up in Norwich now, but Jack was in Norwich. If I was up here, we'd meet up occasionally, we'd do things together. He'd need someone for a video, an older person or something to get me in, and I just said yes to everything, and here we are.
Yeah. So what is it about the podcast, do you think, that sort of resonates with people? Why is it so popular? I think you sometimes mention it a few times on there, like what are we doing? What are we even talking about? People are listening to this.
Yeah, I think there's various things as part of it. I mean, I think Jack's very funny and very aware of timing and comedy, sort of thing like that, as is Stevie, and I think I am as well. I think I learned a lot at Soccer AM about production and timing and creating something that looks out of control, that isn't. People would always say to us, people who came to watch the show would go, "What do you do? What do you do during the week?" We went, "Oh, we write the show and stuff like that and do this." And they're like, "Oh, you don't make that bit up." We go, "No." So a lot of the time you would need structure with this. Less so, I think, in podcasts than a lot of things. So, but I think it's a sort of dynamic. It's people knowing their roles and not talking over each other, but also people being funny, not talking about myself, but Jack and Stevie being funny, sort of thing. I think it all helps. I think it's a mix of everything that's, but I think a lot of people just make the mistake of going, people start podcasts and go, "Oh, mates are funny," which I'm sure they are in the pub. Let's just go and record that. Whereas you need some kind of structure or something to hang it off to be funny around.
Yeah. Well, I must say, I think you're doing yourself a disservice though when you say just Jack and
well,
Stevie.
No, I think I'm all right, but I don't, it's quite arrogant to say it.
Yeah, I know. So we'll say it for you. But I also think it's something to do with the three of you, the way you bounce off each other, and I think it's always been good. I think it's now found its sort of prime. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was. Every now and then people would say things about us picking on Stevie or something like that, but it's just like a role in a thing. It's like Stevie wouldn't turn up if he actually thought people were bullying him. It's meant and it sounds funny. Yeah. He says that, so I think it's people have their sort of roles in it and understanding what their role is, and also once you've done a few things like this for a while and you work with people, you look at each other. Like Stevie will say something or start saying something, and I'll just look at Jack, or we both know what we're saying, or we'll just nod to the other person, go, you take this one, sort of thing like that, or sort of.
I'll let you do that.
Yeah, exactly, sort of thing, and you can sort of plan it out there. So it's not like there's not rehearsing everything, but you are sort of during it, you're aware of what's going on, and you can you don't have to say. You have to speak with words to communicate what's going to happen next. I think.
Yeah. And I think the more you spend time with Jack and Stevie, and the more you do that, the easier that becomes, isn't it? Sean and I are still learning, but we're getting there. We talk.
We've known each other for 25 years.
There's a perfect example. We talk over each other.
I don't think. I think you've been doing very well. I don't think you have been. I think I've been very impressed. Don't worry. I think it's special.
I don't know. But yeah, before we move on from happy hour, just backing up Sean's point of you doing a disservice to yourself. I think the Reddit polls recently confirmed how much of a great addition you were, didn't they? I think it was addressed in one of the recent pods.
Reddit is I like looking on the Reddit, because Reddit is 98% of it is just saying how much of a legend I am. Almost on. It's really good for the self-esteem.
And the other 2% just slams Jack, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, and also enjoy that. But yeah, it is. People say nice things a lot of the time, but I mean, you just have to it's nice that people say nice things. It doesn't particularly affect me either way. I think some people, particularly in YouTube things, put too much weight in what other people think. And I think that's obviously something that's really nice, that people are saying nice things. But I think when you start to pay attention to this, it can affect you, I think. And the same way that I don't, if someone comes on, and it's very rare it happens, if someone comes on and says something rude or is unkind or something like that, I'm like, well, you don't know. And but you can't accept to go, oh yeah, these people are all right. And then you've got to take it all, do you know what I mean? So you have to sort of just go, you have to go, feedback is lovely, but it doesn't mean much, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Takes a certain type of person to be able to just brush it off, though. I think I'd
older person, older, I think is the word. I don't think I would have when I was younger, but you sort of learn it. I think you sort of learn and it's opinions, a lot of this stuff that people are having, sort of thing. Like someone might come on and go, like you see on particularly people who do like football stuff on there, there's really polarizing opinions. Like you see like Mark Goldbridge, for example, someone will say he's the GOAT of Oasis, say he's the greatest of all time, and someone else will be slagging him off or something like that. And you think, well, they can't be both true. Yeah. Like it's probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, I think it's nearer the GOAT end than the other one. Something, but you know what I mean, it's it's opinions. It doesn't matter if I've used an example in a video before, but if my son goes, I don't like mushrooms, doesn't mean I'm not going to like. Mushroom doesn't affect me. It's just someone else's opinion. It's I'm going to go, well, I'm going to stop eating mushrooms because this guy said he doesn't like them.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is to get reactions as well, isn't it? So it's probably even not even an opinion at times.
And I think it makes sense not to ignore them, because if people like, I think Stevie will rise to things like this and that. And I think then it encourages people to do more sort of thing of that. Whereas I just ignore. If anyone's actively rude, I just block them immediately, so they don't get any conversations. It's not worth it, because I don't ever go on. I'm never online being rude to someone I don't know, or even I know, really, sort of thing. So I think that's base standard.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll talk about music now, which is the theme of the website. It's the theme of the podcast. I want to touch on something you briefly mentioned that I'm not sure I'm aware of. You mentioned Oasis. Jack wanted to talk about Oasis.
So there's a few things. Basically, I loved Oasis growing up. They're one of my favourite bands, and I was in 100% my favourite band growing up when I was at school and stuff in later stages. And they, so Noel and Liam were like heroes of mine. And Noel came on Soccer AM a few times, which was quite exciting. There's various stories I've told about this sort of thing, but again, but we eventually had eventually I got to know Noel occasionally from this when he came on. We'd go to gigs occasionally. We'd occasionally end up in dressing room afterwards at Oasis gigs and like that, which is quite fun and cool when you've admired them for so long. But then when the second to last album came out, they were playing a few smaller gigs around the place. I never met Liam at this point, but I'd met Noel quite a bit. And I went with my friend Jim to watch a gig at the Clapham Grand, not a big venue at all, if anyone knows it, in London. Max Fosh played it recently, which shows. Okay. But it's so we went to watch it there, and they were playing Live Forever, one of my favourite ever songs. And there was a lot of industry people, and some woman was texting a mate about shopping. That sounds like sexist and making it up, but it was genuinely. She was talking about planning a shopping trip. I'm going, of course. So we sort of pushed our way through. So let's get down the front. So push our way through. And they just before they started playing Wonderwall, the opening bit of Wonderwall, Liam looked up and saw me in the crowd and pointed at me. I went, all right, lad, how you doing? And I went to her, and she went, oh, Liam talking to me. And he goes, no, he wasn't. He went, no, you looked right at me. Like this. And my friend Jim loved Oasis as well. He used to do an Oasis website in the early days. And all this sort of stuff. Before, this shows how the internet's changed. Before, Oasis sent him a letter telling him to take his website down. Didn't have anything copyright on it. It was just a website about Oasis. They didn't want them. That's how different the early days of the internet were. Yeah. So he was going, no, that wasn't you. But I looked up and I saw Noel as well look up to see who Liam was talking to, see me and start laughing. Because I was right down the front getting involved. And I was thinking, it was definitely me. He's going, no, right, it wasn't you, it was someone else. Anyway, finish that song. Liam walks off, and just before Noel plays Don't Look Back and Angry, just leaned at the microphone and went, well, Robbie Knox. And I was like, I was going to going, maybe that's a different Robbie Knox. Maybe that was another one he's talking to. Maybe there's a few. That was the Sunday, and I was a Liverpool fan as well. And then the Wednesday, I went to Istanbul to watch Liverpool win the Champions League, having been 3-0 down. So it was a good week.
A surreal week.
Yeah.
It was a weird week, yeah.
And you've now leading on from sort of Oasis Britpop. What's this you're doing? I see you're DJing, aren't you? And is it in Norwich?
I am DJing on the 30th of April, a Britpop night in Norwich. £6, I think, in advance. I was big into Britpop sort of thing at the time. I went to loads and loads of gigs when I was at uni here in Norwich. And there is a club night called Common People. They started up a few years ago in Norwich where they do Britpop themed nights. I've been to a couple. And basically the guys who did it, who run it, basically got absolutely stung by COVID because no one started going to things. They lost lots of money and all this sort of stuff. So I said I'd go along and DJ and hopefully we can start clawing things back because I don't want it to die, essentially. I've just moved to Norwich. I want there to be Britpop events and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be me playing great Britpop hits. If anyone fancies it, bank holiday weekend, get yourself down to Norwich.
Yeah. And
love that.
Have you done that sort of stuff before? Have you DJ'd club nights before?
In an indie sense, years ago, like back when in the Soccer AM days, a little bit. It's not the same as DJing house. You don't have to match songs. When one song's finishing, you start another song. It's not hard. But I don't know how it works nowadays. The people have said, don't worry, we'll sort it out. But I don't know how it works in the day of MP3. Last time I did it was with CDs. So I'm not getting my CDs out of the garage. Can't be asked. So we'll have to work out. I don't know how I think they will hopefully have all the Britpop songs available and we'll go from there.
Yeah, Spotify, just click next. Is it?
That's the cheating option is to just do a pre-recorded mix and just pretend to press buttons, but I'm not a coward.
Okay. Put yourself in there.
Yeah.
And you did actually create a little song, didn't you, on Happy Hour that became quite popular.
Stevie White one.
Is this the Weekend Blinding Lights?
Yeah, that was. So the idea of that was we were discussing. Stevie said he'd like to be a professional footballer, and I was saying I don't think you'd have the mental toughness for it. And I said, what about if fans were slagging you off? Would you be able to take it? So that was an example of a song that if fans were abusing him on the touchline, would he be able to would it upset him or something like that? So I was doing him a favour by writing a song.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
Love that. And then you recently wrote
the verses.
The verses for it too, didn't you?
I don't know where we go from next year.
Yeah, where can people? We won't make you perform it live on the pod, but where can people hear it?
You can hear it on the Christmas special of Happy Hour, the last Christmas special,
and in the stands at a Clash of the Creators in the future or something.
I hope so. Yeah, because Stevie's playing at this one. He wasn't there last time. I don't think he got invited. So, in fact, I think he got invited at the last minute as like a replacement, and then just didn't come. But originally he wasn't invited. But for whatever reason, But yeah, so if people are going there, I do suggest they sing it to him. That would make me happy.
Definitely. And obviously our theme is combines music and pints or drinks in general. So before we go on to your fantasy pints, tell us all about your little beer venture. Your brewery.
Binde Brewing Company.
Yeah.
Essentially I got beers. Like beers in the background. I run a brewery called Binde Brewing Company. I don't know if this is probably an audio thing, so it won't matter, but there we go. That's one of the beers sort of thing there. Essentially, during lockdown, the original lockdown, I did some home brewing of beer. It went surprisingly well. I then did some more home brewing of beer, got slightly better equipment, practiced, learned a bit more about it all, and got better at making beer. And then I took my home brew to a brewery to tell me what they thought of it. They were complimentary, and then they said, to do a collaboration thing. And from there, we started up our own, friend Mike started up our own brewery, and it's going quite well. We've done beers with Docks, S43, Gypsy Hill, and Lervig. We've got an exciting new one to be announced shortly. And it's going well.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned more than 3 beers, because when we go into your fantasy pints, I'm going to ask you which person would be a sort of suitable for which of your beers. That adds a fresh element.
Fine.
Add an extra element to yours. It's a bit unfair on you, really. We're adding more work for you, but
absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
So straight into it then. We ask our guests for 3 musicians, past or present, that they could go for a night drinking with, sit around a table with them. They can ask them anything they want. Who is your first choice and why?
Okay, first of all, I am going to go for who I believe is probably the GOAT of music, who is Mr. Bruce Springsteen, who I think is absolutely incredible. I've seen it a number of times. He's the most amazing sort of showman. He's the exact same age to the day as my mum, but a lot more active. Does a lot more stuff. My mum's last few albums have really fallen off. But no, he's I think he's fantastic and he's brilliant live. I think he's got the most incredible back catalogue. I think he's one of the greatest storytellers of my lifetime. I think the things he can get across in a few minute long song is absolutely incredible. And I'd just like to chat to him. I think he's a kind of guy you could have a nice beer with. Did he just do the book with Obama? Is that Springsteen just done?
Yeah,
he does a podcast with Obama. I'm not actually listening to it. He does a podcast on Spotify, I think, with them. He might well have done a book as well. I don't really know. Not sure.
No, I think it rings a bell. But yeah.
It's
a good choice. So which of Robbie Knox or Binde Brewing Company's beers is Brucey having?
I might give him Valencian Tipron, our first beer, an orange pale ale. It was because I think a bit Spanish themed. I imagine he plays there quite a bit. He travels the world and all this sort of stuff. I think he might quite like it, but refreshing. You see, what I don't want to do is then miss out on one for the others. I'm just trying to work out who's going to get what.
This is the trouble of putting you on the spot with it.
Yeah, I'm going to give him that. I'm going to give him with that one. Yeah. Partly because it's not that important.
Okay.
I'm giving it far too much thought.
No, I like it. Who is your second choice then?
Second choice, I'm going to go with, and this is purely from me wanting to have a beer with him, is Dave Grohl. He seems to be the nicest person in music. I know people have met him and say he is the nicest person they've ever met, sort of thing. So I imagine he'd be a great person. By the way, is this one drinking session of the three of us?
Yes.
Or do I go at once?
Yeah, this will be all four of you in one room.
You see, this is the problem. When people do like fantasy dinner parties, they do it all wrong. Because when people go like, I want Gandhi, Barack Obama, and Jesus to go along for dinner with you, like no one's going to talk to me. They're going to be talking to each other.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we always say is, how do you think that you get, we kind of, you've asked the question ahead of time, but one question that we usually will ask once we've had the guests' three picks is, how do you think those guys are going to interact with each other? So you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, ahead of that. But I think, so with my fantasy dinner party thing, I've said if I had to pick that, I'd pick Rob McKellar, is that his name from
Wrexham, the one who's just took over.
Yeah, from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Caitlin Olsen from that, because they're married, and I'd bring my wife along. They're going to be bored of talking to each other. My wife and I are bored of talking to each other, so we'd have to talk to each other. So that's the only way you get a proper conversation. Otherwise, they're just going to be swapping numbers at the end of the night while you're doing the dishwasher and cutting.
Okay.
Speaking to you all night.
Yeah.
We've gone off topic.
Well, the thing with Fantasy Pints is it's your dream scenario, so that they can talk to you as much as you dream.
All right, so I can force them into liking me. Okay,
yes,
good. Okay,
yes.
In that case, Dave Grohl, I think he'd be fabulous. Everyone knows that he's nice. Like Nirvana, like Foo Fighters. But I think it'd be more just a fun person to have a beer with.
Yeah, no, definitely. He just seems proper grounded, doesn't he? And I'm not sure how. There's a few people in music that are so big, so have done so much, and they just seem exactly the same. And he's definitely one of them. But the most important question, and the thing Dave probably wants to know, is which of the beers is he having? I'm gonna give him a shuffleboard. I think he might. I think you might like a lager. I don't know why. It's a Mexican rice lager, so he looks like he'd fit in Mexico. You might like that. The hair, I think it'd be fine. Yeah. So I'm going to give him a can of shuffleboard, which is available now if anyone's interested. Still on sale. Okay. Yeah. Good one. And who is your final pick? I'm going with Americans again. I've just noticed this, but to be fair, that is because certainly living musicians through Soccer AM and other things, I have had beers with quite a lot of them already. I was going to say that. So it does kind of like, it's sort of tailors it slightly. I would go for Snoop Doggy Dog. Yes. that was left field. I was not expecting that. I am such a big fan of that sort of 90s G-Funk West Coast hip hop sort of thing. I sort of did quite a bit now, and all that sort of gang from the olden days I absolutely love. I think he'd be a lot of fun. In terms of beer, behind there is Pacific Days, which is a West Coast IPA.
absolutely perfect. West Coast of America,
Yes.
California. There we go.
Perfect.
So I think he'd be great fun. I don't smoke weed, so
I don't think you'd have a choice for him.
Yeah, okay, maybe that. I'd make an exception for him. If he drinks my beer, I'll smoke his doobie.
You might even get a discount on some takeaway food later on as well if you order from Just Eat. I imagine.
Well, there you go. That's it.
He does a lot of adverts.
He's an interesting guy as well. He's into like NFTs and the metaverse and all that sort of stuff. He's very. He's just bought Death Row Records back, hasn't he? He's got a lot going on with him besides the excellent music.
Yeah. Presumably, you watched the Super Bowl performance.
Do you know what? I've not actually seen it yet, which I know sounds mental.
Fantastic.
I know it would be, and it is my dream, but I've not watched it because I want to sit down and thoroughly enjoy it. But I'm going to do it after this.
There's your homework before you pick the kids up from school later. Watch the Super Bowl performance.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Done. Yeah. And I think you briefly, because as you started, I was like, so surely Nolan Liam is going to be one. And then it struck in my head that, oh no, because he'll probably have already done that. Have you got a couple of name drops maybe for us that you just touched upon from the Soccer AM days?
So we had Meatloaf, who's recently passed away, sort of Soccer AM back in the day. It was the American ones that were a bit weird. Akon came on as well.
Akon and Meatloaf.
And,
this is a new Fantasy Pints scenario.
That's Akon, Meatloaf. It's those ones I felt like Jurassic 5, if you know them, came on as well. I quite liked it. We got American people on, but in the UK, I mean, we had quite a lot of the bands from around that time. We've had Arctic Monkeys, been for Pints with, Kaiser Chiefs, Kasabian, Noel Gallagher, Johnny Marr, Manny from the Stone Roses.
I'm assuming the Arctic Monkey, you went... Alex Turner was before he got the American twang. It was
his first album, and it was when they'd not been around that long, and it was really sweet because they were just like 4 kids who were in the pub, and they're like the hottest band in the country. I just sat at a little table having beers with them, and they're saying, "We're going to practice tomorrow," and they're going, I've got to go and see my gran, but I could come down afterwards. And they went, okay, we'll do that. And they were having this little discussion, who's going to book the studio? And I went, I can do that, and all this stuff. And I'm thinking it was such a mates just starting a band together sort of thing, but they're also this massive band. It was really sweet.
Yeah. I'm jealous, very jealous.
Yeah.
But no,
Robbie, before you go, I need to ask you for some advice.
What's this? Well, I don't know where this is going to.
Get the doctor will give you some cream and it will clear up in no time.
So we've not mentioned it yet on the podcast, but you're running a marathon, aren't you? You're running the Edinburgh Marathon.
I am.
When is that?
End of May, late May, last weekend of May.
I ran a 10K on Sunday.
Yep.
I can't walk.
What do you run regularly?
No.
Had you run anything shorter than a 10K before running a 10K?
A 5K.
Before you ran that 5K, had you run any other runs? What I'm saying is, did you do a 5K and then go, that went all right, I'll do a 10K, and then are wondering why it suddenly hurts, and then tomorrow you do a 20K and see what happens?
What happened is, I was asked in December if I wanted to run the 10K on the 6th of March, which at the time felt like ages away. And I hadn't ran a 5K probably since I was about 17, 18.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, yeah, I'll give it a go. We've got 3 months. Went for a couple of runs, did a 5K with a friend, and almost collapsed before finishing. Did a couple more runs after that, and then I got a chest infection, which just saw me off for a week. Didn't do anything for a week, and then never ran again.
So I think you'll find, I think what you've probably already guessed is that you didn't do enough training for it. The thing about 10K is quite a dangerous, like I would never run unless I've got a race booked in. I don't like running. I'm not particularly good at it, but it's the kind of thing that if you do, you get better and you get decent at it. I've done 3 marathons before. The last one I did in Valencia was the only one I've trained semi-properly for. And I got, for me, 4 hours 25, which for me was a great time, like an hour quicker than my previous 2 attempts sort of thing. And it felt really good doing that. But it is the kind of thing if you can physically run, if you have active working legs and no injuries sort of thing, you can train in 18 weeks. You can do a marathon from not running, really. The problem with a 10K is you can still do it, even if you haven't trained, it's just going to be a bit unpleasant, which is what I think you found like that. But once you get to half marathon, you have to do some training because otherwise you can't really do it. Like it's you just won't be able to run it all. You might be able to walk it, but you won't be able to run it all.
I've quite stupidly signed up for another 10K the beginning of May, mid-May actually, 14th of May. So
okay, you got time.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to get myself out and do something.
Best thing you could do is to get a training program. I use ones by a guy called Hal Higdon, HALHIGDON.com. They're on the website. You don't have to pay for them. There are things you can pay to download, but you can just print out the page and have it there, sort of thing, if you want. And you just go beginner, intermediate, advanced. I might give you a guide of what time you can expect, and just follow it and just do it. And the things I find is rather than just going for a run, if you do what it says, which is like do this training run, do this one slower, do this sort of thing. That's how you improve, rather than just doing an occasional run.
Is there any setting before beginner?
I don't think so. I mean, look, if you can, when you did 5K, that killed you, but you managed it. And was that running all the way? Was it walking bits or running all the way or something?
Yeah, the first one I did was 31 minutes. So
that's fine. That's
about 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's fine. But then you can run. So no, you'll be absolutely fine with the beginner one. Just do it, and it won't be too hard to do. You'll get the hang of it. Sort of thing. I mean, you'll see. I mean, I did a video when I went for my first run of marathon training because I knew how bad it'd be. I think about 3K, and I could barely breathe, sort of thing. At the end of it, you see how out of breath I am. Whereas Sunday, I did 18 kilometers, and was tired, but I could have gone on. If you said you got to do another couple of kilometers, it wouldn't have killed me. So it was. You do improve if you do it. I know it seems.
You saying that you struggled 3K, I mean, that's good. It's maybe inspired me because I think I'd definitely struggle with that.
And people think I'm good at it. I'm not a naturally good runner. I'm not fast. I'm not good at it. I'm not someone who enjoys running. I'm not out running going, oh, this is great. Like I'm like, oh, for God's sake. Yes, I went for a run. I was like, for God's sake. But once you're doing a longer distance, like a half marathon, what is good is the long Sunday runs are quite good because you can explore. Because if you think towards the peak of marathon training, you could be doing a 20-mile run. If you look at your house on a map and look how far 20 miles is away, if you've got someone that can pick you up at the end of it, you can explore a huge distance on foot and see round places, something like that. Or 10 miles there and back, even then you can still probably cover quite a lot of stuff, sort of thing. But I'd try and do, when I was living in Kent and training for Valencia, I ran basically along the train line into London, thinking if I get too tired, I can just go to the train and get the train back. The idea was I got all the way to Catford, but to get the train back, rail replacement bus. Still, the thought was there. But so that's where those are the runs I quite enjoy. And having run a marathon, you won't get a better pint in your life than after you've run a marathon.
I can imagine. Have you any strong words for Jack? Because I know Jack's just cancelled on you, hasn't he? Because I'm in a similar boat with Sean now, albeit on a smaller scale. I'm trying to convince Sean to do this 10K and he won't do it.
Sean never said he would to start with.
Yeah, you're more for Stevie here. You're off to see Ed Sheeran instead. Siri's just popped up saying Ed Sheeran is dead. I don't know. I don't understand my computer. I don't know what it's doing. In terms of advice, I mean, it's with Jack. I sort of realised before he told me he wasn't going to do it, he wasn't going to do it because he wasn't following a training program. Yeah, he was just going out for runs occasionally, and you don't get any. It obviously helps a little bit, but you don't get better or you don't improve unless you have some kind of thing where you practice your speed and you practice your endurance sort of thing. If you're just doing little bits, it doesn't really help much sort of thing. So I kind of knew that he wasn't going to do it, or that it would go very badly if he did do it for a bit. It's up to him. He can do what he likes. I hope he'll do another one in the future. I think because Stevie still says he might do one later in the year. We'll see. But depending on how this goes, I'd be willing to do one in the autumn.
He also said he'd hit a 180 in 5 hours, and that's not going to happen, though, is it? So
no, I don't think it is.
He sounds like me a bit. Definitely will happen, but we'll see. We'll see.
But honestly, 10K is good to make sure you get a medal at the end of it. That's all right. It's something to do.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But I'm trying to convince Sean. One way I tried to sway him was a costume,
a fancy dress,
running in costume. Yeah, but he's not.
I mean, you couldn't have put me off more by saying that. It's not going to get wrong.
Just tell me about the pint at the end. That's going to work for Sean, I think.
That's true.
I'll have a pint while you're doing it, and then you can see me there afterwards.
There is a run in France called Marathon du Médoc, where it's a marathon in wine country where there are wine stops on the way.
James,
run for 5K,
that sounds up our street.
Yeah. So there we go. Maybe that's what you progress to. You still need to be able to run a bit because you've got to finish it in 8 hours. So you've got to run a bit.
That sounds much better than dressing up as 118 in Tatton Park to me.
There we go.
Yeah. Robbie, are you running for a charity at all? Can people support?
No, do you know what? I was going to, when Jack was going to do it, I thought I'd do a happy hour one, but I'm not now because I just did it because I want to do a run sort of thing like that. I think
selfish.
Well, the first time I did a marathon, I did it for a charity. I did it for Bernardo's, but then after that, I'm just doing the same thing again, just because I like it. So people go to Nepal and go, "Can you sponsor me to go to Nepal?" You go, "You want to sponsor me on your holiday?" So do you want to sponsor me doing 2 weeks in Ibiza? So I think I'd have to do something like an ultra marathon before I do for sponsorship next time. That seems a bit much at the minute.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. Before you go, what have you got in store for 2022? What are your plans apart from your DJ set and
DJ set? That's massive. I carry on doing happy hour, more YouTube stuff, brewery. Hopefully, take that up to another level. We've been pouring beer at our first festival, music festival, and beer. In fact, the only craft beer music festival called Bigfoot. That's in the summer.
Is it Midlands?
It's Buckinghamshire, I think. So
completely. I'm thinking of a different
Mondays are playing Caribou, Self Esteem, various other people.
Sounds good.
So that should be good fun. Really looking forward to that. Hopefully, we're talking about doing trying out the odd happy hour live show or something like that potentially.
That would be good.
Yeah, I don't know, just killing time till I die, essentially.
Perfect. What a perfect way to end.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time.
A pleasure, gents. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, Robbie.
No worries.
Cheers.
Yes, that was Robbie Knox, as we said, Soccer AM, happy hour. And I think, as I just said, he nearly made me buckle with laughter a couple of times, I think, during that. Very funny man.
Yeah, that was superb.
So, under-promising, over-delivering.
Absolutely.
I'd say so far. So, as we said, there'll be more to come, hopefully. No, in fact, I was going to say hopefully and then say a certain time of a week it would be released, but that's the point of this season. We're not promising. But we, as today showed, we'll be looking to get guests from various fields, various sectors, would you say? I don't know.
Yeah.
As we have done in the previous seasons, I've got a couple of sports guests in mind, a couple of big musician guests who we're talking to. So you can follow us on Twitter at Northern Chorus _ Facebook Northern Chorus UK, James Instagram
Northern Chorus.
Keep you on your toes, but I did give you the easiest one.
Correct.
So thanks for listening and see you next time.
Bye-bye.